What is going on, everyone? Welcome into BP Insights. So let's get into it. Um, so I was watching. I guess I'll just kind of talk about kind of the main topics of this of this broadcast. So the main thing is, I think the key diet, the diet that's worked best for me has been lean meat, no seasoning, no sauce, just basically steak, eggs, and fruit has been uh, a complete game changer for me. I think that's the best diet in my opinion, just because you know the the energy, testosterone boost you get from steak and eggs. Those are some of the two best foods in naturally increasing testosterone, and then fruit gives you that much needed energy, natural sugars, natural carbs. So I think for me, and I think for most people, that is like the most ideal diet. Lean meat, fruit, beef, I think is just a perfect diet. So I'm really a big advocate of that. It's helped me really get not only to bulk up, but get lean and strong. And so I really push meat and fruit is the diet that I really push. So what else we want to talk about? Kind of wanted to free ball this podcast. So let's talk about Jake Paul's a guy who I didn't really was not really a big fan of at first, but I think he's a guy that once you learn more about him, you start to kind of grow, gain respect for this guy. I was watching his workout. I mean, this guy just does like some insane workouts, like that 30 minutes of hell workout. That workout is just absolutely insane. He just does that whole damn thing without stopping. I'm just like, man, what an animal. You see, you talk about what makes a fighter great. It's that not just training hard, but it's training hard. It's training at an elite level of intensity, taking as little breaks as possible, going as hard in the allocated time that you spend training. So I think that's what's absolutely key. What separates Jake Paul, what separates guys that are greatest is, they have that intensity. Guys can train hard for a long time. I think that's where I struggle. I can train for, an hour and a half. I can train for an hour and a half, 2 hours, but I'm not always going as intense as I should. I'm taking a little too many breaks, too many water breaks. Jake Paul, you watch, he's just that whole time he's just going and going. It's just super, it's super impressive. It just shows kind of the mental toughness that guy really has. So yeah, kudos to Jake Paul for how hard he works. Looking forward to his next fight. I kind of was, his choice breaking up with Julia Rose, I didn't think was the best choice. I think Julia Rose is, I'll be honest, she's a baddie. She really is attractive. I know she's a little older now, 30, but, she's a baddie. But now that the Dutch figure skater he's with, I don't know how to pronounce her name, but yeah, she's very attractive. She's tall too. I didn't realize that. 6 foot, 6 foot, pretty tall. He's 6'1", so they're pretty close to the same height. But yeah, this is a guy who, Jake Paul is not a guy that would give a fuck about something about that. So yeah, it's a guy that comes from, a pretty good, good family, Disney star. You feel like he's a guy who just would not have really it just does not have a lot of circumstances that would, motivate him to get, or not necessarily, but not a lot of circumstances that would kind of hinder him from getting that elite level drive needed to be a elite fighter and a train at elite level. So, that's what's impressive about Jake Paul, that he's really garnered that much momentum to train. He was talking on the Nelk podcast about, he's not really motivated to train. That's the thing. Most guys, you talk, whether it's Jake Paul, it's Andrew Tate, it's Ronnie Coleman or Joe Rogan. You talk about guys that are in great, we're either at one time or now, elite level of fitness. These are guys that they were not just born, and not come out the wound having like a switch on in their brain where they're just, incredibly motivated every minute, every second of every day. These are guys that, they had to do things that they didn't want to do to achieve great heights. Joe Rogan had to do long podcasts to achieve the fame. Jake Paul had to do those hard workouts. Joe Rogan had to do the hard workouts too. Andrew Tate had to do the hard workouts. He had to work when he didn't feel like working. That's kind of the Andrew Tate talks about that's the masculine frame, working when you don't feel like working. But yeah, Jake Paul, really just, I kind of get intrigued by one person or one thing some days. And, Jake Paul, I've just been, looking at some videos. He did talk about a guy that's really knows how to build a media presence, 20 million subscribers on YouTube. So yeah, this guy just knows a thing or two, seen a thing or two, done a thing or two, was from Disney star to boxer, YouTube sensation, media presence, dating baddies, banging baddies, the guy that, is respected in many realms of his life. So yeah, I think Jake Paul's an intriguing guy. So I just kind of wanted to touch on him just for a few moments. But yeah, it is kind of crazy. Like you think Joe Rogan, like his podcast, like that's a long time, and he talks about how training really helps him. His podcast, I think, I talk about how training and working out really makes my job a little bit easier. It makes my 9 to 5 seem a little easier. Um, it seems like the day goes by faster. I think if you're not training, I think if you don't work out and you don't train, I think it makes um, life harder. If when you're not as strong, when you're overweight, when you're eating bad, I think just life just becomes harder. I think uh, that's what people don't realize. Life becomes easier when you eat healthy and work out. I know I sound like Captain Obvious, but it's easier said than done, because not ever it's easy to just, you're on your lunch at work. It's easy. You got, I don't, where I work, there's, McDonald's, there's Taco Bell, there's candy. There's candy everywhere. There's candy, there's dessert, there's all these temptations of bad food you can eat, and that'll hinder you from, from having a clear mind and a mind that you can get the most done. But yeah, Joe Rogan, those long podcast sessions is crazy how he does that. That's just it's a long time to talk. I find even on my podcast here, it is, talking for an hour is a long time. Talking even for 20 minutes can seem. I'll do some of these podcasts. I'll talk for like 15, 20 minutes, and it feels like it's been a lifetime. That's just kind of how things are, or that's kind of how it can be. It's like, I remember back in the day in high school, I used to get, like, when I give speeches, you give a 5-minute speech, you feel like you were in, like, especially if you're nervous too, you feel like you were in front of the class forever. You felt like you're just kind of standing there. Everyone's watching you. You're just nervous. So that's the thing. You feel like, um, talking nonstop for over 5-10 minutes is definitely not always the easiest task in the world. Yeah, we'll shift into talking some dating, talking some women, talking about women. So yeah, I think what's interesting is how indirect women can be. Like where I work, there's these two girls. It's kind of funny. They come in. They've been coming in almost every day. They always come, to my register, and I check out their stuff. It's kind of funny. Just, I think they like me. Well, I don't know if they like me, but I think they're attracted to me. But it's just kind of funny how indirect girls are with guys they're attracted to, or they kind of like. They don't always talk to me directly, but they're just like joking and kind of clowning around to each other. And, you know, how that's how girls kind of are when they're around a guy they like. They're just kind of, clowning around, joking with each other. They just kind of have that nervous energy. They don't really speak to you directly, but yeah, they're just, kind of laughing, making jokes. And, that's kind of how they are. But yeah, I think it is kind of funny. It's Austin Dunn made that point too. I noticed that, girls that like you, they're almost more like, if a girl's nervous around you, it's usually, oftentimes it can be a good sign, because it just shows that, girls, when they're around guys they're really attracted to, they get nervous. If they're not nervous, it's, not always that they're not attracted to, it's just that they're used to being around they're being around guys that are as attractive as you. So, that's just something interesting to keep in mind. So, if you kind of make her nervous, especially like he talked about when you're looking at her in the eyes, that she must have pretty high attraction for you. But yeah, I mean, so today I was not motivated to hit the gym at all. I think you kind of have to do some things to kind of mentally get you going, mentally get you under workout. You kind of have to almost say sometimes like I'm just going to work out for I'm just going to do one more. I used to kind of have to trick my brain and say I'm just going to do one more rep, and then you just keep doing one more rep, and you do one more rep again, you do one more rep again. You just kind of have to trick your brain into keeping going. Sometimes you just want to stop, you want to quit, but you just got to keep going. So today I was not. Today I was really struggling to stay motivated to keep working out. Did some legs, Bulgarian split squats. Man, Bulgarians are tough. Those are Bulgarian. If there's one thing that I really dread the most, it's Bulgarian split squats. But I found I've kind of tricked my brain that, and not just for Bulgarians, but for a lot of exercises, I've kind of found that I need to just like go like exaggerate just to get a ridiculous, not an amount that I can't do, but do an amount that I know is going to be really heavy. So my brain kind of like wakes up and is more focused and ready for it. I've noticed that when I do that, it makes, I'm more like locked in, as opposed to sometimes when you're doing lighter rate for reps, you're kind of like, your brain kind of dreads it more because you're going to like feel like, because it's going to be tiring and it's going to be more pain. Like there's going to be more reps that's going to be painful. So I think, sometimes doing more reps is a little bit painful. But yeah, I noticed that when you go heavier, sometimes your brain kind of like wakes up a little bit more and is more prepared. Like your body just kind of is more locked in. You're more thinking about, I need to use every ounce of strength, as opposed to I need to uh, just kind of endure the suck, if that makes sense. So sometimes like, doing heavier weight, your brain, it kind of satisfies your brain, and like your mind body know that you're just like going to challenge yourself. So you need to kind of like, this motherfucker needs to, your brain needs to kind of wake up more. But yeah, was really not motivated to work out at all. Definitely was not feeling it. Some days that I've noticed that like when I don't get my workout in, a lot of times I'll feel anxious. Like I'll be at work, just feeling really anxious and just really in need to get my workout going. There's just, it's times where I just do not want to do it. I'm thinking like, and I get really, sometimes I get so stressed, like my body starts to like tense up. I start to get like stiff, just because like the anxiety is like overwhelming, because my body knows that I need to get the workout in, and I just I need to get it done before the end of the day, because I always get a workout in, and if I don't do it before the end of the day, that really the anxiety, that stress just goes through the roof. So really have just made an emphasis, because I'm attached to the idea. I know you shouldn't. Attachment can be the root of all suffering, but I'm attached to the idea that I got to get a workout done in the day. So I know as the day goes on and it gets closer and closer to midnight, I'm really panicking that I got to get that workout in, so I can really feel satisfied that I really, did something to really, push myself today. I think that's what, that's why the brain really craves a challenge. It craves exercise. It's the body. The body is, the brain does not want to get bored. It's like Andrew Tate talks about, like if he wasn't always doing something like training really hard, his brain was in like a perpetual state of boredom. I think that's for me. You do not want to put the brain in a state of boredom. So yeah, I think, that's what sucks about work sometimes. Work, you can work hard, but sometimes there's just not like a lot to do. Sometimes work is like a little slow. I know there's always like work you can find, but like some stuff, it's not always like stuff you can do quickly and it feels like satisfying. So like when you're not, moving and doing stuff quickly, they can just, things can just start to feel a little bit, repetitive and tedious and slow. And, when things are moving slow, that's when kind of the anxiety builds. But yeah, I think that's why a lot of people can become so um, miserable and unsatisfied in like 9 to 5 jobs, because it's a lot of, sometimes you're kind of just, your brain's just like almost on autopilot, especially like if you're tired. I think coffee's like the ultimate way people cope with that, but especially if your brain is like tired, I think you're really trying to figure out ways. Um, you're really trying to figure out ways to keep your brain occupied, so you're not like shutting down and just getting really tired. So I think 9 to 5 jobs can get your brain can just become too bored just sitting there at the office doing the same work in the computer. I think that's I think that's what can cause people to feel depressed, anxious. I think 9 to 5 jobs can just kind of feel it's not, they can really just feel like torture at times. And I think I think people get too, um, maybe not necessarily comfortable, but too kind of too much in a rut. Too much, it becomes just too much same old, and there's not enough excitement. There's not enough challenge, and as a man, you kind of just, that's just not. It's just not. It doesn't always feel fulfilling, when you go sit at your desk for 8 hours. You come home, you watch Sports Center, you watch Friends, you go to bed, you do the same thing over. It seems like it's just too much same old, and it's just not enough excitement in a man's life. You know, David Goggins preaches. He's a full believer of doing something that sucks every day of your life. I think it's the ultimate way to, you got to toughen up the brain. He talks about how discipline. Um, the only thing that'll change your DNA is discipline. So doing something, that's why I'm a full believer of doing something every day, whether it's going to the gym every day, whether it's doing an hour-long podcast every day, whether it's posting, whether it's building an Instagram presence, whether it's doing stuff to make money. Do something every day um, to try to build discipline, toughen up the brain, make you more physically strong, and just do stuff that gets you excited, gets you going, and makes you want to really, just cherish your day. But yeah, it was interesting. Jake Paul and Andrew Tate had that beef. Seems like they've kind of settled that. I remember they were on that stream. I thought that was, it seemed a little bit uncomfortable at first, but um, Andrew Tate talks about he still has a lot of respect, or he still has respect for Jake Paul. I think Tate understands how hard this guy trains. I mean, there's proof in that video of him 30 minutes, 30 minutes in hell. Said in the thumbnail, 99% of people quit. I'm not sure what the percentage actually is of people that quit, but I'm sure there's people, maybe if they don't quit, they stop, because that workout it's as intense as they come. And 30 seconds, he's just doing that without stopping. I mean, that's just absurd. Um, obviously you can't, doing that workout full go without stopping. You're not going to be able to just go full pedal to the metal. Obviously you kind of have to not really coast, but you kind of have to go a little bit slower at times. But yeah, that workout is something else. So yeah, credit him for really killing that workout. Um, yeah, that was, that workout really, it got me fired up. Sometimes watching other people work out gets you fired up. Guys, sometimes I'll watch Odell Beckham or Christian McCaffrey work out. Adrian Peterson did some savage workouts, like the 4 hour workouts he would do were intense as hell. Dudes, seeing other dudes that have had success in their, aspect of life, seeing them work out, get after it, really just does fire you up. It is really awesome to see. yeah, Adrian Peterson's workouts were something else. They were crazy, man. Yeah, Peterson, he was a big believer in just sleeping, um, getting a lot of sleep and working out for 4 hours. Yeah, it was intense as hell watching him work out. Just running up hills and shit. And there was one he was talking about. He was doing a workout with like a guy that was like a sprinter or something in the Olympics, and um, the guy had to stop mid workout because he couldn't finish it. I think the guy was throwing up. He didn't say the guy's name, but I'm thinking like, man, that is savage. That's just how hard AP goes. When you see a lot of these guys work out, it's no wonder why they're great. They're pushing the extra mile. They're doing, to achieve what others don't. You got to do things that others aren't willing to do, and that's certainly the case for Jake Paul, Adrian Peterson, Christian McCaffrey. Guys that are really killing it. They're doing things that that other people really aren't doing. But yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy what Tyreek Hill's another guy that really gets after it in the workout. You see, he's just like cranking leg press, straightening out his legs, just doing a shit ton of reps, just over and over. It's a guy that just, him, Jake Paul, the guys that can work out so hard, do like all this and, really, push themselves beyond these limits. Their mental toughness is just through the roof. That just takes some serious mental toughness. It's just to not have that, there's how many times that thought crosses your mind to stop, but they just keep going and going is just, it's just absolutely incredible. Yeah, you see Peterson running those hills, these legs are got to be burning. Jake Paul, when he's going through, the fourth, fifth circuit, you're thinking like, man, he's just got to be in pain and he's got to feel drained. And, he's thinking about taking a break and, the music, he's got the, like fighter, like an announcer, like a fight announcer, blasting in the speakers. They're dumping water on him as he's doing a workout. Just a lot of things to make him uncomfortable. That's the thing. A lot of guys that are having the most success are guys that are really just doing everything they can to be uncomfortable. Being comfortable can really destroy you as a man. You got to get out of your comfort zone. You got to do things that others are not willing to do to be respected a lot of times. Like I just did. I worked out for over an hour. Was that something I wanted to do? No. Did I want to do 5 minutes on of planks? Did I want to do a minute on, minute off, 5 circuits of sit-ups? No. Did I want to do all those squats and Bulgarians? Absolutely not. But you do it because I have a duty to myself to grow mentally each day, and so I have made a pact with myself to lift and work out every single day. But yeah, I think it's, a lot of guys talk about how important it is just to get in the gym. Just getting in the gym is so key because if once you get in the gym, you just have it. I think seeing other people, because when you're in the gym, you always see like at least one or two other people really working hard. And so once you see those other people working hard, you're kind of like, am I going to be the one bitch in the gym just to not get after it? That's the thing. When if everyone in the gym is really working hard, well, not everyone will be, but if you see multiple people doing it, are you just going to be, do you really want to be the guy who's just sitting there on the machine on his phone? Or are you going to be the guy that's going to, try to challenge the guys who are working the hardest in the gym? I think you want to become the guy that people don't really talk to in the gym because you're so laser focused and you're working so hard in the workout. You ever notice guys that are locked in the zone in their workout? People don't really approach them. People do kind of watch them and kind of just observe them. You want to be that guy, the guy that's just working so hard in the gym that people are observing as opposed to coming up and talking to. So if you're a guy that people are coming up and talking to, it might be because you're doing heavy weight, but it's oftentimes you're kind of just, being too casual with the workout. When you're truly locked the fuck in, people do not People are not really gonna, mess with you. Like and look like you know what the fuck you're doing too when you go in the gym. I think if you go into the gym and you don't you act like you don't know what you're doing, you're kind of just wandering around. People won't really respect you. They'll take weights off your fucking machine and your bench press. If you go in there with like having the mindset of, I belong in here. I'm the man. I get after it every day. Um, I'm gonna go. I go hard as fuck. I don't give a shit what anyone thinks of me in this place. And you walk with your shoulders back and you walk confident. I don't think people. I don't. People won't fuck with you. They won't steal your weights off your rack. They won't really. They won't walk in front of you. They won't mess with you. So just having the mindset that you're gonna attack once you get in the gym, I think is big. Because that's the thing. If you're not gonna get in the gym and get after it, there's gonna be some other dude will. And if you have a girlfriend and you don't go to the gym every day and you don't get ready to attack, there's some guy out there that's getting ready that goes to the gym every day that's gonna attack, and he's gonna not just attack the gym, but he's gonna attack your girlfriend, not physically, but take her from you. So that's the thing. You gotta just keep getting after it in the gym each and every day. And to have success, you have to do things that others are not doing. Because if you're doing the bare minimum, staying comfortable, odds are a lot of people are doing that too. You're gonna have to get uncomfortable. You're gonna have to do, if you want to start a podcast, you're gonna have to get uncomfortable. You're gonna have to get uncomfortable talking for a long ass time. Uh, if you're going to have success with women, you're gonna have to start approaching women. You're gonna have to take some rejection. You're gonna have to deal with some fake fucking numbers. You're gonna have to deal with some flakes. You're gonna have to deal with some low interest women. You're gonna have to deal with some medium interest women that pretend to like you, lead you on, and you're just gonna have to cut them off. You're gonna have to recognize, when they're not interested. So that's the thing. You're gonna have to have success in different aspects of life. You're gonna have to get uncomfortable. That's the thing. Whether it's Jake Paul, Tiger Woods, Joe Rogan, all these guys had success from being uncomfortable most of their life. You don't just get to eat Cheetos, play Call of Duty, get on the computer and goof off for 5 minutes and make $1 million and build a huge media presence. That's not really how life works. A lot of times in life, you get in, hard work pays off. You get in, what you put in is the cliche expression, but that's very true. But yeah, I think, it's too bad I've kind of come to this realization this late. I've always kind of thought this, but uh, it's kind of too bad I've come to the realization that I've spent of, I say a lot of time, too much time chasing women that, just didn't really like me. I think that's a little, it's kind of depressing, but it's one of those things where, if you realize you've been doing something that you shouldn't have, sometimes you just have to realize, like, you can't dwell on it. You just have to think about it and then just stop it right then and there. So to me, I've been chasing women too much in my life, especially in college. That's the problem. I think that's the problem in college is you get some successful women and then it's just immediately, okay, let's go. Now we're going to the bar. Uh, Now I'm going to the bar on every Friday night. Now I'm going to the bar on Friday night and sometimes Saturday night. Now I'm drunk on Friday. Now I'm drunk on Friday and or Saturday. So I'm thinking, like, you think about that time you wasted, and you think about all that time you wasted just to get some pussy occasionally. Like, you think, is that really worth anything? Like, what did you really gain from that? What does That's the thing. Darius M hit the nail on the head. Not that you should, obviously you should approach women, but that's the thing. He kind of came to the conclusion that you shouldn't. Obviously he wasn't. he wasn't chasing women, but you shouldn't always just spam approach women because, say you approach a baddie tomorrow at the mall and fucking he's in Chicago. Say you approach a baddie at the mall in Chicago tomorrow and you bang her and you never hear from her again. What do you really gain from that? Like what really comes out of that? I guess I mean you have that's 10 minutes of fun, as opposed to, or actually not even just 10 minutes because that can be more than that. Say she came there, hung out for an hour, and then 10 minutes of a fun time, and then she stayed for an hour after that, plus the time you were out, plus the time you're approaching her. That's potentially that can be a couple hours, 3 hours for what 10 minutes of banging her. What do you really gain from that? You don't really gain anything from that. So that's the thing. That's guys always want to reach the next level. What is the next level game? Like the next level game is you get a girl that is really into you. She becomes kind of the main chick, I guess, and she just she's all in for you. She does extra things for you, like does your dishes, your laundry, cooks for you. Um, massages you before you go to bed. That's what Darius is talking about. So that's ideally you want to find a woman like that. That's kind of like the main goal, to find a high quality woman that's doing a lot of things for you outside of the bedroom. But yeah, it was this, so Andrew Tate has a lot of famous podcasts. I think the one with James English, I think, is really interesting. I think that was a great conversation he had with English. They, discussed a lot of topics. He's talking about, he had an interesting take about how American Pie was probably like the best time to be alive because, every like late 90s, 2000s, there is like cell phones out, but not everyone has them. Like if you can text someone, call someone if you need to. But there is no social media. There is no game. There is no fucking games on your phone and shit. So everyone's just at the party, at the high school party, at the college party, just enjoying the crappy party. Everyone has to, everyone's forced to socialize with people. So it's kind of funny how, that was probably the best time to be alive. Obviously, when that movie was made, I was like 2-3 years old. So that was before I was able to. I was too young to. That was before I was in high school, college, but that was it's an interesting time in life. Yeah, American Pie, it was I think that movie really resonates with a lot of people uh, because the Jim, like Jim chasing the girl, desperate to get some pussy. I think that's why super bad people relate to super bad a lot. Guys can relate to doing it, going the extra mile just to get that girl or get some pussy or shit like that. I think that's why American Pie, super bad, those movies were really relatable because every guy was at one point had the biggest crush on this one girl, and she likes someone else, or maybe you did all this shit for you and she still never really was appreciative of her, never really liked you or really was that into you. So a lot of guys can relate to those movies. Yeah, it looks like it's thunderstorming outside right now. Fucking it rained today. But yeah, interesting stuff. Yeah, and the James Ingles podcast. Yeah, he said quite a bit of funny stuff um, in that podcast. He was hammering home about having a male pilot as opposed to a female pilot. So I thought that was interesting. Um, he asked James English, who's the podcast host. He asked if he'd rather have a male pilot or a female pilot, and he said he preferred a male pilot, or he said he whoever was the best qualified, which is the politically correct answer. But yeah, I mean, obviously, probably would want a male pilot, but kind of like you would want a male pilot you would probably want a female daycare worker taking care of your kids. Who would you drop your little kids off um, at a nursery or a daycare run by men? Probably not. But yeah, I thought that was a really good podcast by Andrew Tate. I thought, yeah, that one was really interesting. Yeah, English. He's a good interviewer. Andrew Tate was on his podcast a couple times. I thought they had some really good discussions. I think he's an interesting guy. The title of his podcast, "Anything Goes with James English." So they're just open. He's open to talking about a lot of different topics. And yeah, so thoroughly enjoyed that one. Yeah, you hear Tate talk about the webcam business, some of the weird stuff guys would pay girls to do. I thought that was interesting. The guy named Paul that was paying the webcam girl to he wanted her to get some gummy bears and then eat the gummy bears and pretend the gummy bears were him and his friends. And so I guess that turned him on when they were eating, or she was eating the gummy bears. So yeah, interesting stuff. Andrew Tate kind of defended that the webcam wasn't all bad because you look at corporations, like fucking McDonald's, Taco Bell, they're taking like what do workers, if you're a worker there, you're making like what, less than 1% of the money that company, even that specific McDonald's or Taco Bell store makes. So Andrew Tate's whole point was, even if he was giving women 20% of the cut, that's still way more than most businesses pay an individual employee who's just, it's more than the guy who flips burgers at McDonald's is making to, less. He's, getting his paycheck is less than 1% that specific McDonald's is making. But yeah, interesting stuff on that podcast. Yeah, some other one. He was on that show with the Indian guy. That was a good one. Yo Mama's House podcast was a good one. Yeah, there's some several good ones that there are a lot of good ones that Andrew Tate did. I think Alpha, what is it? Bulldog Mindset was another one. Was another good one with Tate. So yeah, quite a few good ones. I kind of like some of the older ones. By older ones, I mean like 2 years or older. Obviously, both Patrick Bet-David ones were good. It's crazy. He's been on quite a few, but he's not been on like a ton. It's crazy. Like he's just made so many fucking. He's had so many great takes that have just been chopped up into short clips and in shorts, and just so many classic quotes that was really key for him to, draw that attention on social media and become the most Googled guy on earth. So yeah, pretty crazy stuff. I never would have thought, if we rewind 2 years ago, I'm seeing him on Fresh and Fit, and I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? I have no, he came out of nowhere for a lot of people. A lot of people are like, who the fuck is this guy? They had no idea who he was, and now he's just built up quite the presence. But yeah, I'll be interested to see, what podcast he does. What's his next podcast? I'm trying to remember what the last one was. The grilling one was interesting. Him versus the feminist woman. Andrew Tate. I think towards the end of it, she was really starting to like him. She was really kind of starting to grow feelings towards him, and he did a really good job of kind of making her agree with him. I know Sneeko was on there too, and her and Sneeko didn't get along, and Andrew Tate kind of had, he has kind of like similar sort of thinking to Sneeko when it comes to women. Obviously, Sneeko seems like more of a Sneeko's kind of in that red pill space, but Andrew Tate, he seems like he's got a way with words to make women agree and make women really kind of think about their ideas for a minute, and he really can kind of challenge their feminist beliefs and really get them to just think more towards uh, his opinions. But yeah, you gotta love Andrew Tate. A lot of times, listening to his podcast just gets you really fired up, gets you in the zone. Um, he just a lot like he touched on. A lot of people reach out to him and say, your podcast just really get me motivated to live my life, and I think that's as good a compliment as you can get. You gotta love. If you're someone making um, giving motivational podcasts, motivational talks, and people are listening to it and getting fired up and bettering their life, then that's got to make you feel good, really good as a person, and that's what Andrew Tate has been able to do. So credit him. Uh, that's awesome, and hopefully he continues to inspire more. David Goggins, his message is really resonates with a lot of people. He's really motivated people to work out and strive to be great and push the extra mile, literally, like run some more miles. Just get after it every day, challenge your mind, toughen your mind, strengthen your mind, do things that challenge you mentally and physically. That's what David Goggins, Andrew Tate are all about. The answer is working out. It's hard work, getting your money up, being disciplined. Those are all sort of the kind of the ideas and practices that Andrew Tate, David Goggins uh, really promote. I know those are guys are two different guys, but they're both kind of similar. Uh, Both kind of similar in the way they, just preach hard work, discipline, and getting after it. Even though David Goggins takes the approach of, challenging himself mentally through working out, and Andrew Tate takes the approach of challenging himself mentally through, working hard, growing your business, working out too, but also, just work, mostly, working to make money. But yeah, you respect that. Both guys just get after it every day. It really is awesome. It's not an easy thing to get after it every single day. There's obviously so many days where you just don't feel like doing it, but you do it anyways. You know, doing what you don't feel like doing, uh, or doing what you feel like doing most of the time is not going to get you anywhere. It's doing what you don't feel like doing. That's what the key to being a man is. Striving for greatness. LeBron's motto. Look at Kobe Bryant. There was times he used to sleep 4 hours a day. That's just how dedicated that guy was to being the best at basketball. Sleeping very little, training as hard as possible, just to be the greatest, to go down as one of the all-time greats. It's really what it takes. So Kobe, his legacy certainly is up there as one of the greatest of all time, and he's a fantastic player. Won many championships for the Lakers, and he's remembered for giving everything he had to the game of basketball. So Kobe Bryant certainly left quite a legacy. But yeah, I know I have my TikTok channel in this podcast, talking about how, obviously getting women dating is so important. Andrew Tate talks about how a lot of guys message him with they need help, with their girlfriend. Their girlfriend doesn't like them anymore. They need help getting this one chick or attracting women in general. So a lot of guys just have questions about, having more successful women. It is, one of the more popular topics of conversation. But yeah, I think Andrew Tate um, hit the nail on the head. There is no substitute for being the man. When you are the man, it just suddenly things become easier. Suddenly getting girls becomes easier. Suddenly making even more money becomes easier. Suddenly building status becomes easier. So just working hard, staying consistent, just getting after it day in and day out. It just seems like once you work hard and you keep just staying consistent and disciplined at something, it seems like things just start to work out in your favor. But yeah, dating really is interesting these days. There is a lot of um, the red pill really has grown in popularity. A lot of guys are, even some guys going black pill, which I think is dangerous, where you just don't even want to talk to women at all. I think that's really dangerous. It's a bad it's a bad path to go down when you can't even have a conversation with a woman. You can't even look at a woman without thinking of hatred or anger. I think that's a really unhealthy position to be in. Yeah, we'll keep going here. So yeah, I mean, there's obviously a lot of things I could touch on. Yeah, I mean, today I interact with a lot of people, and I talk about how it's fun when you're interacting with a lot of people. There's just a lot of different circumstances that happen. Uh, when you're interacting with a lot of people, some people have different ways of greeting you. Some people do some kind of goofy things. There's working in the store, you see a lot of that customers that come over or come are frequent customers, which is cool. It's cool to get to know people. I think work is an interesting place because you get to build a bond with with your coworkers. I think if you're working hard, um, if you're working with people working hard, I think it's interesting. How you can really grow that connection. But yeah, it's kind of like guys that you played football with, guys that you were on the sports teams with, you really grew a connection with, because what doing hard things, you kind of grow that bond together. A lot of the guys I played, you know high school, varsity football with, when you talk to them again, you really talk about some of the good times, some of the rough times, some of the rough conditioning. It's fun to talk about because once you go through hard times with other men, you really have a true respect for those guys, and you have memories that really last throughout the course of your life. Doing hard things with other guys is stuff that you always think about, and it's stuff you always remember. But yeah, I know some guys have talked about this, and it's kind of an interesting thing to think about. Is what if women just approached the guy they really wanted? It'd be an interesting thing. Um, it's never going to happen just because girls are too nervous. Kind of. I talked about this before. The same way guys are really nervous about approaching. Say you go to fucking. Say you're at Starbucks tomorrow, ordering your coffee, and you see the most attractive girl you've seen in your life. You're probably going to be pretty damn nervous to go approach her. It's the same. Girls kind of feel the same sort of thing. If you're a guy in her mind that's just like a 9 out of 10, a 10 out of 10. If you're a guy that's just like very attractive in her eyes, she's probably going to be nervous as fuck, and probably, and girls don't, when they're nervous, they especially don't have the courage to approach men. So that's the thing. Like if she feels that fucking, like, if you don't approach when you feel that fucking nervous, she's probably not going to approach when she feels that fucking nervous. So that's the thing, is ideal that would be if we lived in a world where women would approach the man they want. As ideal as that would be, it's still never going to happen. But yeah, that in a perfect, not a perfect world, but a closer to ideal world, that would be an awesome thing. But yeah, it's interesting, when you're around women all day, like in a job or whatever social circle, whatever fucking setting. It's just like interesting. Women are interesting to study because they just, I don't know, you never know what they're thinking. Their minds are kind of always in like different places. They have a lot of different thoughts. They have a lot of different emotions. They're always talking to, I think that's interesting. A lot of guys agreed. They're always talking to one or more guys. And it's funny how there's just like always these random scenarios where they start to just talk, where they find different guys to talk to. Like I talked about, I knew this girl that she would go to the fucking she would go to the gym, get hit on. She said guys would come up to her and say, "Hey, you look good." She'd be driving her car. She'd be at like a fucking stoplight, and a dude would just roll down his window and say, "Hey, can I get your number?" Or uh, some high school dude or young dude who's still, um, even if he is college, some young college dude still that thinks he's in high school, asked her, "Hey, can I get your snap?" Asking like a 15-year-old who's had too many White Claws. So just stuff, kind of stuff like that. There's always just those random scenarios they're getting hit on. It's really interesting. And obviously, all the dudes sliding into their DMs, all the dudes fucking they match with on Tinder, Bumble, and shit like that. I remember I was at the bar one time, and for whatever reason, I saw this really attractive blonde, and for whatever reason, I wanted to approach her and ask how many dudes uh, slide in her or DM her on Instagram each day. And I don't know why I wanted to. Obviously, it is kind of a little bit beta to approach in that way. Um, but I think she was interested, and I blew my chance with that. But that's kind of beside the point of the story. The point of the story is I was just really curious how many guys DM her each day on Instagram, and she said about 3. And I'm thinking like, you know, as attractive as this girl is, I actually thought it could be more. But I'm thinking like, think about like if you're a guy, some guys will never get 3 DMs from girls in their life, and she just gets 3 in a day. So potentially 21 different guys in a week, not to mention dating apps, not to mention guys hitting on her social circle, not to mention beta male, not to mention these guys that are her friends that are just genuinely her friend in their mind when deep down they want to fuck her, and then girls that are guys that you know guys that she's going to meet 2 weeks from now, guys that are going to hit on her at bars and clubs. There's just so many different ways, guys are going to hit on her, and just, all these opportunities. And then there's some average men out there that are just, happy when when an attractive girl smiles at them and tells them thank you when he gives her her fucking order at KFC. So it's kind of crazy, but it's how the world works. Women are born with value. Men are not born with any sort of value. And yeah, that's what I think about. Look at the guy who works at the average guy working um, at wherever Starbucks. You got to think: is he having success with women? Probably not. You know, is he probably trying his best? Maybe, maybe not. Can he level up? Yes, but like, I mean, the thing is, like, he can level up, but like, he's kind of, it's gonna be, he can level up, but like, so can, a lot of guys have the ability to level up. They just, it's hard. And that's the thing. You got to think of a guy's, especially in his 30s, and he's just an average Joe working at KFC or, um, Best Buy. Nothing against those jobs. I work at a retail store, and nothing against that. But if you've went 30 years of your life, 40 years of your life, and you've kind of just been an average dude for that long, it's kind of hard to, what's magically, what's magic? How are you going to magically get the discipline, the momentum to make a change now after 30, 40 years of doing the same thing? So that's the thing. You can try to make a change, but it'll be tough. Once you've built a habit out of being an average guy, living an average life for so long, to get the momentum, establish the discipline, establish the diet, establish the workout habits. Now at this point, now at 35, 45, 50 years old, it's maybe that, sometimes that ship has kind of sailed. But yeah, we talked before about how Dan Bilzerian probably is the best all time with women. The guy just understands, female nature, female psychology, really just gets it. He's the man, and guy really mastered social media, mastered the ability to not just become a high value guy making money playing poker, but displaying his value on Instagram, displaying him doing fun things on yachts and traveling the world with all these attractive girls that are promoting his brand Ignite. So this guy that really a genius at promoting, making his life look fun, getting his money up, hiring staff so he doesn't do anything that he doesn't want to do. So credit the way he's really built his life up. Yeah, just got a few more minutes here. So yeah. But yeah, it's tough to really grind. There's days you wake up and you just don't want to do anything. There's days you're tired, you ache, days where you just kind of feel overwhelmingly sad and depressed. Not in like a way like you're gonna harm yourself, but like days where you're just like way too tired, way too stressed, and a lot of emotions just kind of overwhelm you in the morning. You just kind of have to get after it anyways. But yeah, I think with the Tate brothers, Andrew Tate doesn't get as much publicity, but Andrew Tate's a guy that really he's really interesting to listen to. I like listening to him on the Patrick Bet-David podcast, the Tucker Carlson podcast, some of the podcasts that he's done. I think he's done a really nice job. Tristan Tate's a guy that, even though Andrew Tate gets a lot of the credit, Tristan Tate's a guy that's really balling too, a guy that knows a thing or two about making money, getting women. So you really got to respect what he's done. Not only dating, but financially and building that presence and status, and being funny, charismatic, really doing a good job of, just balling out all around. So credit Tristan Tate for what he's done, and, the ability to develop a presence similar to Andrew Tate. Yeah, they asked him about, not being as famous as Andrew Tate, and he goes, well, to be fair, Andrew Tate's, his brother, Andrew Tate, my brother, his brother is more famous than most people. So that's the thing. What is that? Even though, Andrew's more famous than him, Andrew Tate's more famous than just about, 99% of people. So it's not really much of a, he's not really, settling for like a huge consolation prize being second to his brother. So, and, but yeah, that's the thing. He's really respected in his own right too. And a lot of people really appreciate and are inspired by what his work too. It's interesting. He hasn't really found necessarily a purpose in life, but he's just, always working hard and always getting better and staying disciplined and getting after it. So, he talked about how hard Andrew Tate works, and it's really helped him work hard too. They both really fed off each other. They both really done a good job of disciplining themselves to work out and work hard. When one of them does thousands of push-ups, it motivates the other one to do thousands of push-ups too. So having and living together and just motivating each other to do their best every day. So I'm going to wrap with that, guys. Thanks for tuning in to BP Insights. Stay tuned for more episodes and clips from the show. Till next time, peace.